Welcome everyone, my name is Slumperd, and in the distant year of October 2019 I decided for my next Dungeons & Dragons campaign I want to record an campaign diary. And as luck would have it, we were just about to start a new campaign. So it's a bit late, but here's episode 1 of our first session. This video will be 2 halves. One half is just me telling the story of what happened in the campaign during the session. I told like a story from my perspective, obviously, and the second half will be more meta and more about how I prepared, what I expect the players to do, what the players actually did. And if you're one of my players, then please don't watch that, as it is a lot more. What's the word I'm looking for? Spoiler heavy. I completely forgot in the first part. There's a bit of a change of scenery in the second part, but for the first part this is still spoilers for Ghost of Saltmarsh. I completely forgot to say that at the beginning. So, with that being said, it is autumn in Saltmarsh, and for those who have lived there for a longer period of time, they know that autumn in Saltmarsh means storms, heavy storms, and those storms will only get worse and worse until somewhere in the winter where they suddenly stop. With Saltmarsh mostly being a fishing village, it is getting emptier and emptier, and that in combination with an outbreak of the plague only a couple of weeks ago means that Saltmarsh is at this moment in time, very quiet and empty. We start our adventure in the Empty Net Inn, a rougher inn, mostly visited by mercenaries, smugglers, thieves, sometimes even pirates. Like Saltmarsh, the inn is very empty, and at this moment there's only 3 patrons and a bartender standing. The bartender is a relatively young, sheepish-looking human. He's trying to keep himself busy, though there is not much to do. At the bar sits a large copper dragonborn. As the dragonborn is eating, the door opens and an elvish man walks into the door. The bartender recognizes him, at least vaguely, as a mercenary who more often comes to the inn looking for work. But seeing how empty the inn is right now, the elf decides to order his meal and quietly sits at the bar and eats. About 20 minutes later, the door swings open once again, and this time through it 2 people come. First, a human with 2 large birds on his shoulders. On his left shoulder, he has a rough-looking raven with red glowing eyes, and on his right shoulder, a majestic eagle with shining silver feathers. Under normal circumstances, this man would have instantly grabbed the attention of everyone in the room. But at the moment, they are slightly distracted by the large dog-like centaur that walks behind him. He has the head of a husky and the body of a horse, and he eagerly follows the human to the bar. With a wide grin on his face, the man takes place at the bar, and looking at the rest of the patrons, he pronounces, "Blessings upon you. I was sent by my goddess, the Raven Queen, to investigate a haunted house somewhere here near Saltmarsh. Can any of you please help me with my mission?" The dog tower takes place behind him, not on one of the stools, but on the edge of the bar. And he says, "Oh, that sounds exciting. My name's Cooper. I have a package for Crab Shanker first, but after that I can help you investigate." The dog tower looks at the barkeep and says, "Are you Crab Shanker?" "That's my boss. Right now he's asleep, so you'll have to wait until the morning," the barkeep replies. "My name's Jamian. If you need anything, let me know." Both Cooper and the human order some food and a room to sleep in for the night. When they get their food, the human asks Damien, could you tell me anything about the haunted house? I know it's near Saltmarsh, but I don't know much more about it. My name's Bulwark, by the way. Damien thinks about it for a moment, and he actually has heard a lot of stories, most from kids who say they've been there, and how many ghosts they've met, and how they totally weren't afraid, and how they're totally gonna go again. But he realizes that that's probably not the stories this man Bulwark is interested in. So he thinks a bit more about which stories keep recurring and which stories are more recent than others. If you travel eastwards from Saltmarsh, you come across two cliffs. They're on the farthest of which stands a house. This is probably the haunted house you are talking about. It was once owned by a famous alchemist named Yvette Edelries. Yvette was a hermit of sorts, and most people don't know if he at one point just left or if he died in the house. But all the same, it was eventually abandoned. A couple months ago, a group of clerics came who also wanted to know about the haunted house, though they were a bit less focused on their god and more on the treasure that the house supposedly possesses. If you want to go there, I can show you, but you'll have to wait until tomorrow. Damien responds. When hearing that, the Dragonborn at the bar suddenly perks up and says, "Treasure, you said? If you need someone to watch your back, I can help." The elf on the other side of the bar also is now paying attention to the conversation, but he does not respond yet. Bulwark thinks about it for a second, as he wasn't planning to take such a big group with him, though if 4 people went in and none came out, it might be wise to not take any risks. As Bulwark agrees, the Dragonborn introduces himself as Tritakure. They look at the elf and ask if he also is coming along. The elf just nods and says, "My name's Kieran." The 5 of them eat together, but they speak little before heading to bed. But right before Bulwark can go to bed, his eagle jumps from his shoulder and starts knocking with his beak on the windows. And he lets the eagle out through the window, and he himself leaves the inn as well. Damien has a small bed near the bar, so the inn can stay open, but he can still get a little bit of sleep in. But about an hour later, but about an hour after everyone goes to bed, he's awoken. Thinking that someone came in, he looks and sees that it's Bulwark. Bulwark is soaking wet, he has tears in his clothes, and he is still missing one bird. But Damien doesn't really notice that much. He wakes up, recognizes that it's Bulwark, and he goes back to sleep. The next morning, the group gathers up. Cooper delivers his package to Crab, and they head out towards the haunted house. As they stand in front of the gate, Cooper and Kieran take turns kicking the gate down, and soon after the rusted rusted hinges. And soon after the rusted hinges give in and the gate falls forward into the grass. They explore the first floor for a bit, and they find a lot of bugs. They find some alchemy ingredients. They even find a stone which seems to have some slight form of magic imbued in it, but they're not able to recognize yet what kind of magic. As they go down a set of stairs, they find themselves in a wine cellar where they see 2 rotting bodies laying. Looking at the clothes that the bodies are still wearing, the group realizes that those are 2 of the 4 clerics that at some point went into this mansion. And as they start to investigate it further, they are attacked by a swarm of gross creatures that jump out of the body and attack. Though these creatures are easily dealt with. They make a lot of noise when doing so. And after it, the group decides to take a bit of a moment to catch their breath again. While they do that, Bulwark, Cooper and Jamian decide to investigate the place a bit. And while Jamian looks over the many different wines that are standing there, Bulwark and Cooper are both looking for any secret or hidden passages. And as they start knocking on the walls, they realize that the wall on their south side, it has a large, empty space behind it. As they warn the rest of the group, everyone gathers around, and Jamian manages to find a hidden switch that opens the door. And as he does so, and as the door opens, he directly feels two arrows. And as the door opens, directly 2 arrows are shot at Jamian. One of them hits the wall behind him, but the other hits him straight in the stomach. The party rushes in to confront these ambushers, and they make short work of them. They even manage to keep one of them alive for questioning. From this questioning, they find that a group of smugglers is using this house as their temporary storage before they know it's safe to move their cargo elsewhere. As they look around, they also find a large door, a barred door with the words danger written on it. The smuggler tells them that this is because a group of skeletons is sitting behind the bar, sitting in the door. Since this sounds like the type of undead that Bulwark should be dealing with, he asks his a bit more muscular friends to lift the bar and open it. And as they do so, 6 skeletons come walking out of the room. Before anyone can react, Triticure moves up, moves the rest aside, takes a deep breath, and shoots lightning. Enough lightning to destroy all of the skeletons. Much more lightning than any of them have ever seen a Dragonborn breathe. The party enters the room, and as they do so, Bulwark's raven suddenly flies off and sits in the corner at the far end of the room. His eyes turn from red to blue. He starts glowing the color blue, and as he does so, he suddenly shoots all of this energy towards the wall that breaks down, and a robed skeleton climbs out of this wall. Before the party can react, the skeleton goes, "Oh my god, I'm finally free." Taken aback, but realizing that it's his mission to destroy this creature, Bulwark walks up to him and shoots an eldritch blast against the skeleton. As the blast hits the skeleton, its chest explodes, and but as it does so, the pieces flying off, they kind of start hanging still in the air and start slowly floating back into place as if he was never hit at all. The skeleton looks at me. "Oh no, that won't work. It will all just repair itself. I'm sorry." Not fully understanding what's going on at this point, but realizing that the attack did little to nothing, the group decides to, at the very least, disarm the skeleton, and Jamian takes the obsidian dagger hanging from the skeleton's robes. After a bit more of awkward conversation, the group learns that any who are killed by the dagger will become a indestructible skeleton under Avete's control. And in an attempt to become immortal, Avete killed himself with the dagger. Unfortunately for him, after that, the Raven Queen and the other gods of death didn't appreciate it very much, and they locked him up in this small space where he, until recently, was stuck in. Though he doesn't directly wish to die, Aveta, the skeleton, is quite over immortality at this point, and wishes at least for himself to find a way to die. That was session 1. I hope you enjoyed that recap. I hope that I'll improve a lot while doing this more. And maybe also when I'm doing this a bit more recent, as it's been months since that session. So now over to the part that if you play in my campaign, you're not allowed to watch. But anyway, I'll leave a timer up or something, and after that's done, you should have left. So this campaign started with me sending a lot of a document with a couple of campaigns I'd like to run to my players, and from it I got back that the Salt March was very popular and a pirate campaign was very popular. Since those two are fairly easy to combine, we said we'll start in Salt Marsh, and from there you can acquire a boat and a crew, and you can make it like a pirate type campaign. Oh yeah, and also a third campaign was very popular, was the Western continent, I called it. In my setting there are 3 known continents, the Northern, Eastern and Southern continent, and recently a Western continent has been discovered. So the plan was, I'm not sure how much attention everyone's still paying to it, but the plan was that after they've assembled the crew and gotten ready, they're gonna go there and see what adventures there be had at a new continent that for most of the world has not been discovered yet. Let me first introduce the party to you. The group is level 3. You have met them all in the during the story if you have listened to all of it. But we have Jamian Cedos is his name. He is a wizard rogue, and he, at least at the beginning, he was using the Onomancy wizardry UA, but as I allow players, at least until level 5 for this campaign, to change things about their character if they don't like working with it, he's thinking about changing it to necromancy instead of onomancy. Also, Jamian is an escaped convict. He foresaw some great environmental hazard, and in his attempts to prove it, tried to steal a certain item, and for that he was put in a very, very harsh jail. But he managed to escape, and from the while in jail he learned about Saltmarsh, that it's a lot less how to say, regulated place, and people won't recognize you as fast. So he decided to go there and find a job there. Then we have Bulwark. I was, especially the first session, I was really happy with Bulwark, because while he was creating his character, I thought, okay, he's playing a Raven Queen Warlock. And while he was creating his character, I was thinking, well, it's actually perfect for the haunted house. I really wanted them to start with the haunted house. So I asked him, like weeks before the session started, at one point, is it okay if I use your character as a quest giver of sorts? And he said, yeah, that he was completely happy with that. But after that, we didn't spoke of it at all anymore. Yeah, anyway, he is an Asmar warlock of the Raven Queen. He has 2 birds. One is Raven, who is his connection to Raven Queen, and the other is a connection to his angelic mother, who is not an angel of the Raven Queen, but a raven, or an angel in opposition to the Raven Queen, actually. So the idea is actually that the evil looking bird, the raven, is going to tell him to do the good stuff, and the good looking bird, the eagle, is going to tell him to do bad stuff. Then Tritakure, his deal, except that his name is impossible to spell and then recognize of how you say the name from the spelling, because I would say Tritakure, but it's Tritakure, which I don't think fits. I don't think that works, but the player says Tritakure. But Tritakure has a problem, like all D&D characters. But he actually is a dragon. He's a very, very young dragon. In the second session, actually, he completely changed the voice he did for the character to like an adolescent, just hit puberty. That's not adolescent, but just hit puberty type voice. It was great. But yeah, the Tritakure is a dragon, and if you are a bit familiar with Saltmarsh, the point in the Saltmarsh campaign setting is that there's a bunch of dwarves who think they can find a lot of metals in a particular area, and they buying up land and turning it into a mine, and people in Saltmarsh don't like that. And so what we decided is that part of this land that the dwarves want to buy is where he has his lair, his dragon lair. But of course, as he isn't officially a dragon, he's officially not even a person from Saltmarsh. That land, according to the law of Saltmarsh, doesn't belong to him. Belongs to a noble named Andrew Salamore, who is probably gonna, or is at least thinking about selling it. So he is hoping to acquire a lot of gold to then buy the land from Anders before they can buy it from him, before his lair is turned into a mine. Then bit of a duo. I like them both a lot. Cooper and Kieran, both barbarians, and they are also both not from this plane. Kieran is from the Shadowfell and Cooper is from the Feywilds. And I'm really hoping for a bit of a dynamic between the two, because they like each other, specifically because they're both like newcomers to the plane, and they both like it when things are explained simple, even though neither of them is really like, neither of them have a negative intelligence score. But just because they're new and they don't get a lot of stuff, they like having things explained simple to them. During the introduction, you might have noticed that Kieran was just a bit added to the party, didn't say much. He was we're playing through Discord and he had a lot of connection issues. That was also why at the beginning he just stayed silent and started eating, so we could go further and introduce the rest of the party, as he was still sorting out that we still had hopes that it would start working again, but I think after when they went to the haunted house, he was back again. Yeah, as I said about Bulwark, I asked him to be a bit of the quest giver for this party for the haunted house, and I honestly had just completely forgotten that we had specifically said that. I just remembered that I had informed about the haunted house and that he seemed eager to want to go there. But afterwards, I forgot that I had specifically asked him to act as a quest giver, and so before the session I was like very busy with trying to find a way to get this group together, because I was quite confident that as soon as they were like a party with all of them, that then it would be only a matter of time before they went there. So I had set up like 3 different things that they for every player to, no, not 3 different, but I had a couple of things for different players for how I could get them to the haunted house. And I had, even if they like just completely refuse, I would come up with, okay, if like the campaign completely falls flat and everyone's kind of waiting for something to happen, I'll just go with not orcs, but I think they're called sanguine attack, and just have the inn be ransacked by a group of fishmen. But that was all unnecessary, as soon as they as soon as Bolverk was introduced, he directly asked, and the rest of the party was directly mostly out of character, but also a little bit in of character. We're very eager directly to go to this haunted house and explore it. And in the end, for the second session, I haven't really done much more preparation. I have set up the rest of the haunted house, of course. Yeah, the only real preparation is the introduction of a new character, who is also, she's gonna play Grave Cleric, so quite easy to explain how she basically will just come in the haunted house after the party and find their traces, basically their tracks. Hope you liked the video. If you did, like it. Sorry. But in all seriousness, yeah, if you liked the video, either like it or comment something. I'm not completely ready for constructive criticism yet, but if you have things you want to hear about or tips, you can leave them in the comments. Anyway, that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Can you see that light change? Oh, shit. I did not realize that was what that was.